Lee, where are you? Who invite him? Share link. Oh,
Hi.
hi.
Sorry.
Aloha. How are you?
Hi, Ishul. Sorry, I was trying to figure this out. How are you?
No, it's okay. It's so wonderful to see your face.
You too. You too. It's so great to
Oh,
see you.
yeah. Oh, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's
Yeah,
exciting.
I know it is, right? It's my
Yeah.
pleasure and honor. So,
Oh,
yeah, today we're here with a wonderful poet. He's been an inspiration to me for years, for decades, and he is the current Poet Laureate of California. He's written numerous books, and this is his latest one in praise of late wonder. Let us welcome the wonderful Lee Herrick. Aloha! 안녕하세요.
thank you. Thanks for having
Yeah.
me. It's great to see you.
Yes. Thank you for being here. So, how have you been? It's been a while since we caught up.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well, given the state of things, but
Yeah.
I'm hanging in there and doing well. Yeah. How are
Oh,
you?
I'm pretty good. I can't complain. I mean, given the state of things, like you said, just trying my best to maintain peace and, some sense of happiness and normalcy
Yeah.
through the craziness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so where are you right now? Are you in California?
Yes, yes. I'm at
Okay.
home here in Fresno, kind of Central
Oh,
California. Yeah.
sweet.
And
And tell some listeners who might be new to you about your poet laureateship. That's amazing. Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. Well, yeah, I'm the California Poet Laureate, and I was appointed in late 2022.
Mm-hmm.
So my term goes until May of this year.
Oh,
And I'm not sure what's going to happen after that, but we'll see. But it's been a joy. It's been so wonderful.
yeah.
I'm finding out just really how big California is,
It's
and
pretty big. Yeah.
you know, yeah, just how much of a love or a need for poetry there is.
Mm-hmm.
So many communities and different groups are just really doing wonderful work, and so it's been really joyful.
Oh, God bless. And
Yeah.
I think you are one of the busiest poets I've ever known in my life. I thought I was busy in my heyday. I was doing one show every 3 days or something, but your schedule looked like insane. I don't know how you do it. So, like, how many shows are you doing per year or whatever? And how do you manage to find the energy to do all these shows?
It's a good question. In 2023, I
Mm-hmm.
had about 120 events. It was
Oh my
really
God.
busy, a lot of travel.
Yeah.
Last year, there were maybe about 90, so it still
Wow.
felt very busy. But
Yeah.
I have a wonderful assistant through the
Hmm.
California Arts Council who is amazing. And I've found ways to conserve energy so that when I'm there, I can be as present as I can and
Mm-hmm.
give fully of myself, which I try to do. I feel like it's a what it is. It's a position of public service. It's a
Mm-hmm.
gubernatorial appointment, and
Yeah.
so I want to try to honor wherever I am and the people there,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's 1,000 people or if it's 10 people.
Yeah.
So,
That's beautiful.
but in the meantime, I really try to downshift and mind my energy
Mm-hmm.
and get as calm as I can, as quickly as I can.
Yeah.
And that kind of helps me.
Oh, that's
But
good.
I've also tried to enjoy each visit as well. I've
Mm-hmm.
tried to talk with people and get to know folks and really try to appreciate the communities I visit. So,
Nice.
mhm.
Yeah, and am I correct in saying that you're like the first Korean American poet laureate of California?
Yeah, first Korean
Yay!
American, first Asian
First Asian
American.
American, right on.
Yeah.
So once upon a time, I was the poet laureate of Queens. So I guess we're both two very
Yes.
overachieving Asians. Yay!
Oh yes, I have some tea. There's
Oh
some tea
yes,
for you.
let's cheers
Um,
before we.
yeah, I
What
remember
kind?
that you were in Queens, right? You were the
Yeah.
first. Hmm. How was that?
Oh, I'm sure it was very similar to your experience, just a whirlwind, but a wonderful opportunity to get to know so many different people who love poetry all over,
Hmm.
your area. So, what kind of tea are you drinking, by the way?
It's just ginger tea, kind
Okay,
of
well,
just plain.
cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
Kambe.
Kambe. What kind of tea are you
Hmm.
drinking?
I'm drinking honey chamomile tea, which is one of my
Mm,
favorite. Yeah.
that sounds good. Nice.
So, tell us a little bit about your journey. Like, were you writing poetry from when you were a child? What kind of child were you? Where did you grow up? Can you give us a little bit of background, please?
Sure, sure. So, I grew up, I mean, after I was adopted from Korea,
Mm-hmm.
I was born in Daejeon, and adopted when I was about 10 months old,
Mm-hmm.
into a white family who were living in the East Bay of
Mm-hmm.
California near San
Mm-hmm.
Francisco. So, my mom was an artist and sort of a free
Oh.
spirit,
Mm.
a painter and really a wonderful artist. And my dad was a finance guy,
Oh.
investments and things. So I kind of had two different worlds in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
And my sister Holly is also adopted. She's a domestic white adoptee.
Mm.
So, my childhood, on the one hand, was filled with a lot of um, quote, I don't want to say normal, but, typical things. I loved sports. I really played soccer throughout my youth and into college.
Mm.
Um, Loved music, loved playing outdoors, riding bikes, things like that. But, at the same time, I was um, growing increasingly curious about my adoption,
Mm-hmm.
race,
Mm-hmm.
loss, grief, things like that. I coming to
Mm.
terms with my adoption. So um, I was glad I had outlets, like
Yeah.
soccer and music,
Mm-hmm.
and eventually writing to sort of balance things out or give me a place to put some of the emotions that I was feeling,
Yeah.
But I was a um, pretty active kid, really, and I
Right
loved
on.
books.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah,
Do you remember when you wrote your first poem?
I have a memory of writing my first poem, which really was more. I was trying to write rap songs in high
Oh
school.
wow, I love that. Me
So,
too.
I mean, that was the time, the mid
Yeah,
80s,
it
rap was
was.
fairly new to the West Coast. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, it was really influenced by groups like Run DMC and Public Enemy and A Tribe Called
Yeah.
Quest.
Oh yes.
Um, but I didn't realize this, but my mom saved this poem that apparently I wrote in third grade.
Oh,
And it was a 4-line rhyming poem about football
oh, I
that,
love that she saved it.
yeah, I don't remember writing it, but I do remember loving writing early on, just
Mm-hmm.
writing little silly rhymes and notes and things like that. But
Mm.
high school is when I really started to write first song lyrics.
Mm.
Um, and my first attempt at a real poem was probably in college.
Oh, nice. Right
Hmm.
on.
Yeah.
And when did you know that this was going to be your path? Was there a certain point where you were like, okay, this is what I'm going to focus on, or did it just organically kind of unfold that way?
It was pretty organic, I
Mm-hmm.
think. It just, in high school, I had some great teachers.
Hmm.
In college, I really got involved with poetry in terms of the craft and trying to take it more seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when I moved to Fresno, where I live now, that was a pretty big turning point too. There's so many great poets here,
Hmm.
so I remember being asked, are you a poet? I don't know if you felt this, but at first I wasn't sure if I could be or was I
Mm-hmm.
one.
Yeah.
But after a while, it just stays with you. You love it.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
It kind of loves you back.
Mm.
and feels good doing it. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, I don't remember one specific instance, but it was sort of an organic, slow build for me, I think.
Right on.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start with some fun questions before I go into the deeper ones, just to keep it light. If
Okay.
you could choose any superpower to have, what would it be and why?
Superpower. Um, well, sort of a silly one, but actually, it would be great to have the superpower.
Yeah.
If I could abolish, or if I could just sort of turn like the racist sort of institutions or the systemic parts of institutions that are racist.
Hmm.
I'm not making this light. I just realized that.
It's okay. That's
I would
all good.
love to just be able to turn that stuff into like, dust. But
Yeah.
and it's not that original, but I would love to be able to fly, I
Yes.
love the idea of
Me
moving through a
too.
cloud or
Hmm.
being a little closer to the stars,
Hmm.
just that sort of the feeling, I think, would be
Yes.
something. I mean, surfing or riding a motorcycle or running, you can feel the wind sort of, but you're still grounded. I think it would be
Hmm.
incredible to feel that in the sky.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, and if you could choose a spirit animal, what do you think your spirit animal, what we call in Hawaii, is an amakuo? What would you feel is your spirit animal and
Mm.
why?
Um, I don't know. I mean, maybe a seagull or something near the
Mm.
ocean.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know a lot about seals, but I just love their slumber. I just love
I
how they
know.
recline and just sunbathe. It
Relax
just
and
looks,
sunbathe.
yeah, looks very peaceful.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Sweet. And then do you have a favorite meal? Like if you have a go-to meal? I don't think you'd ever be in prison, but if you had a meal that you could choose.
Yeah. So, I love, like, if I go to a Korean restaurant, I like kimchi jjigae. I like,
Oh, me too. I go.
yeah. And maybe it's the Californian in me or
Hmm.
anybody else, but I love like really good tacos.
Oh, yes.
Something
Tacos are a
very
must.
fresh and natural and easy. I like foods like that.
Yeah, right
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
Do you have a favorite kind of coffee or tea?
I don't drink coffee anymore.
Oh, that's good.
Well, that's probably just because I drank so much of it. I had to, you know. But I love ginger tea,
Mm.
and I like pu'er tea and green
Oh, yeah.
teas. Yeah,
Right
yeah.
on. And then do you have a color that you really resonates with you? Is there
Blue, most any
same?
shade of blue. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. All the shades of blue.
Right on.
Yeah.
So yeah, both of our book covers are blue. I noticed.
Yes. Angel and Hannah,
Yes.
an amazing book.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you. I
Yeah.
love your book too. Oh my goodness. So I reread it to prepare for this interview and I
Mm.
was crying before page 30 twice. I noticed. I was like,
Oh.
oh my goodness. It was such a beautiful read. So thank
Oh.
you.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Ishul. Thank you.
So, what kind of artistic projects are you currently involved in? I know you're very busy with lots of readings and things, but what's like on your radar? Or what's going on with you right now artistically?
Um. Well, I'm chipping away at some new poems.
Hmm.
I just finished a poem that's based on the film Parasite.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it'll be in a new anthology that's coming out later
Hmm.
this month called Poetry Goes to the Movies.
Ah.
Um, yeah, so that poem feels pretty good, and I've got some fun events coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be reading with Maria Shriver next month,
I
which is going to
saw
be
that.
fun. Yeah,
Congratulations.
that's going to be so fun. She's actually written a book of poems.
She
It's her
has.
first book of
Oh.
poems that's about heartbreak and healing and joy. So, things like that. And I'm always trying to work with different community groups on various projects, um, but aside from that, just trying to chip away at new poems.
Right on. And that event with Maria Shriver, isn't the guy who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul also going to be on the lineup? Is that
I
Jack Canfield or something like that?
Cornfield, yeah,
Oh,
I
Cornfield,
don't
sorry.
know that he wrote that. I know
Oh,
he's
he
done a
didn't.
lot of work with like
Oops.
Buddhism. I'm not
Oh,
sure. I
okay.
can't remember who wrote that, but
I'll cut that out then.
a lot. Oh, the
Uh,
magic of editing.
yeah.
You're funny. You're funny.
So,
Um,
so what brings you joy? We'll move on to the
oh boy, laughter. I
Hmm.
love laughter.
Me too.
I'm a big stand-up comedy person.
Me
So,
too.
are
Really,
you?
I watch every night almost as much as I can. I'm a
Do
little addicted.
you? Oh
Yes,
my
I love
gosh.
stand up comedy.
Me too.
Hmm.
I watch it, um, I don't know, 4 or 5 times a week, and I listen to the podcasts, and I've seen a lot of live, comedy shows. So
Oh,
that
what
is,
podcast do you recommend? Comedy podcast. I'd love to.
well, I mean, depending on one's tastes, right?
Yeah.
Um, I do like Tiger Belly with Bobby
Oh
Lee.
yeah,
I
he's
like,
funny.
Bill Burr has a podcast.
Hmm. Thank you. I'm gonna
But
check him out.
being in nature, like hiking or near any kind of water, to be honest. I mean, the ocean's
Mm-hmm.
always best, but I'll take a
Mm-hmm.
lake or a river or a creek. I just like being near water.
Yeah.
I love good food.
Mm.
Mm, being with my daughter gives me great
Yes.
joy.
God bless. Yeah, you're a
Yeah.
great dad. How old is she
Oh,
now?
thank you, Ishel. She's
Yeah.
19,
She's
which
19 already?
yeah, can you believe
Oh
it?
Lord.
Yeah.
Wow.
You
Time
know about you
flies.
know about parenthood and time flying, but yeah,
Oh.
yeah, it's joyful. So,
Oh, God
um,
bless.
yeah.
So, how did you get started on your artistic journey in terms of poetry? Was there a moment that you kind of stuck your foot in the door? How did that start?
Mm, well, I mean, I guess there are different ways I could think about starting, but
Mhm.
I was a big reader when I was a kid.
Mhm.
I was reading a lot of books about sports and things like that. I started to write a little bit in college, and I guess my first poem that I sent out for publication
Mhm.
stands out because I had a lot of fear and was scared of rejection back then, and was way too attached to someone else's opinion as um, a comment on me personally.
Yeah.
So I submitted these poems with a lot of trepidation, but eventually, one of them was published, and that felt really good. I, I started to go to readings. I think that was
Mhm.
helpful. Very
Mhm.
nervously, and I'd sit in the back, and if I had the courage, I would ask the author for her signature on her book. But
Mhm.
early on, I saw poets like Adrienne Rich, and I saw Isabel
Mm.
Allende, the Chilean novelist, in
Oh,
college,
yeah.
and remember things like that is really formative. It felt,
Mhm.
I don't know if you feel this, but it felt um, sort of like something was changing in you, but
Mhm.
I don't know that I felt it at the time, but um, yeah, very formative for me in those ways. So,
Beautiful.
yeah.
Do you happen to have your book on you by any chance right now? Or
I
oh,
do.
okay. I
Yeah.
would love it if you would share maybe one or two, however many you feel called to read, so people can get a taste of your amazing work. And I'm gonna
Okay.
pick up
Sure.
my copy. Thank you.
Sure. Maybe I'll read a couple. So these are from In Praise of Late Wonder, my newest book, and it's oh yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
And the first 30 or so pages are a lot about my adoption, and this is the
Mhm.
most I've really ever written about my adoption. So
Mm.
I think I'll read a couple of those.
Okay. Thank you.
Um, Actually, it's more like the first 45 pages or so. But this is a poem called "In Praise of Late Wonder."
Mm-hmm.
It's a sonnet. In praise of late wonder. I've wondered what my Korean mother's voice sounded like when I was born. Was it gasp, hiss, or flag in light wind? I've wondered if she kissed me before I became a wind, a white noise in blue sky. I've wondered lately about joy, butterfly, hummingbird, angels so full of bliss they almost sing. I imagine some of this relates to the orphan I was, the adopted boys and girls like me, all diaspora and alarm. I've wondered if I'm made of smoke and fire, sometimes clear sky, sometimes quiet storm. I've wondered lately how the acoustic guitar keeps its secrets, makes me float a little higher. How could I not love looking at the stars?
Hmm. Thank you. I love that poem.
Thank you. Thank
Beautiful.
you. And
Mm.
I think I'll just read I'll read one more. A lot of the poems in this are I consider them to be prose poems. So I'll read this one called Stars. It's the last poem in this first section.
Okay.
So this is Stars. Every now and then I remember that I was born on the other side of the earth, and it makes sense that I love looking up at the stars. It's such a childish thing to do, like climbing trees, stomping in puddles, and building forts out of blankets. But there's some strange pull and simple satisfaction from looking at the stars after all these years. I wonder if a man my age in Korea has the same love. I wonder how the stars relate to a gravitational likelihood that I'll tell my daughter someday about the time in our backyard, swimming in the moonlight, and the world seemed perfect. Or the time I dropped her off at her middle school in Fresno, and before I drove off, she motioned for me to stop, fogged up the window with her breath, and wrote with her finger, "I love you, Dad," with a heart, and the world seemed perfect. That's what it is about the stars. Because they are so many millions of miles away and so still, the immediate chaos or confusion of our lives seems so minor. Even in the daylight, they're right there, imperceptible, but there. Something like faith or belief or the wild idea that a deep kind of joy is there for you, even if you have no idea where it is.
Ay, 고맙습니다.
Mm.
Oh, it's so beautiful to hear you read that. I love that. That's one of my favorite poems in here. So I even look,
Oh.
I bookmarked it, which I know I shouldn't do, but I was gonna
Thank
ask you to read that
you.
one. Yes, thank
Thank you so
you.
much. I'm glad you like it.
I love it. And I love how there's more than one poem called Stars in here, and each one of them is its own gift that takes you on its own journey. So,
Oh, thank
yeah.
you.
So, definitely get this book if you want to be enchanted and just dream and cry and laugh and feel all the feels.
Thank you. That means a
Oh,
lot to me, you know.
mm,
I guess you can cut this out if you want, but I do want to
yeah.
say, and I've told you this on the side, how much The Temperature of This Water, your first book, shaped me and
Oh,
influenced me and
como
inspired
veo.
me. So it's really, really a treat to be here with you.
Oh,
And it
I
means a
feel the
lot. So
same. Oh,
yeah.
thank you. Yes, I've been a fan of yours for decades. I think before I even read your book, I found
Oh,
your work in some kind of, they had those poetry newsletter things, and I was like,
uh-huh.
"Ooh, this is really wonderful," and I saved it. And yeah,
Oh,
so
thank you. Thank you. And yes, when my first book came out, I
Mhm.
nervously wrote to you, would you please consider possibly blurbing my book? So
Are
I
you
was
kidding?
very grateful, very
And look at you now.
grateful.
You've blown up. You're the Poet Laureate of California.
Oh
Life is
no.
long. I'm so grateful we're still friends.
Same, same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on. So, who are some of your biggest inspiration? Who inspires you?
My dad is a big
Hmm.
influence. He's not a creative writer, but he comes to my readings. He's a big
Oh,
reader. He's
yeah.
85 and
Oh.
still doing well. Just really the most giving person I know.
Hmm.
He's inspiring for me. I just saw one of my literary hero inspirations
Ooh.
recently, Maxine Hong Kingston. I just,
Really epic.
yeah, just love her work
Me
and
too.
what she does in the world. And
Mm-hmm.
um, I was sitting next to her at a recent memorial service for the writer Jeannie Wakatsuki Houston, who wrote a Farewell to Manzanar. So it
Mm.
was really great to see Maxine, who um, is a big inspiration for me.
Yes.
And then I don't know if this is going to seem too much like a poet, but
It's okay.
um, do you ever? I get inspired by hearing kids, like groups of kids laughing.
Oh,
I
yeah.
just love, I love the joy of children. So that's inspiring to me too.
Yeah, me too. I love hearing my
Yeah.
daughters laughing when they're getting along and having a good time with each other. It's always like music to my ears.
It's a good
Ah,
sound. Yeah.
yes. And what's something nobody would guess by looking at you, Lee?
Gosh, that's a good question. I don't know if they would or they wouldn't, but I'm kind of happy because I'm learning how to play the guitar. Well, learning how to play the
Ah,
guitar better, I should say.
right
I can
on.
already play it a little bit,
You got an
but
electric, right? I
I
love that.
did. Did I tell you that? How did you know
Yeah. What
that?
do they look like? What does it look like?
Oh, it's I love it. It's kind of tan color.
Oh.
Um, but yeah, always kind of wanted to secretly be in a band. I don't think I have the chops for it or the nerve, but um, that yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else people would know or be surprised by. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Oh, maybe one day you
Yeah.
could come to Hawaii, bring your guitar. We could jam and Connie Kapila some songs and we like
I would
on the
love
beach.
that.
That would
I
be
would
fun, right?
love that. I would love that. I love your songs.
Oh, I love your poetry.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be fun.
Oh, right on. Okay, so what do you wish somebody would have told you at the start of your artistic journey? What would have been helpful?
Uh, you know, part of me thinks that everything just works out as it should. So I'm
Oh, good.
okay with what I was told and not told. But
Yeah.
having said that, I think early on,
Mm-hmm.
I think it might have helped me to find ways to work through my fears a little
Mm.
bit, both
Mm-hmm.
related to writing and more related to my life and my past. I think fears in
Mm.
my life and from what I've seen in others can really keep us from living our fullest lives or can keep us from the page that's
Yeah.
sort of calling to us. Um, I had to work that out or work through that on my own pace, as I think we all do, to get to the
Mm-hmm.
page.
Mm-hmm.
But um, that comes to mind, um, and yeah, I think if I didn't do an MFA, so I had to learn
Oh,
some
you
of.
didn't. Oh,
No, I didn't, and I'm
that's
okay with
good.
that too. But I
Yeah.
definitely cobbled together my understanding of the poetry world and publishing
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. But um, yeah, I'm grateful for everything I've been given or told, and quite
Mm-hmm.
frankly, even the questions and the things I wasn't ever told, I'm okay with that too. Yeah,
Right on.
yeah.
And do you have any advice for a newbie who wants to maybe go this, follow this path or go on this journey like what you've
Mm.
done?
Well, I would just say there are a lot of different ways to do it, and
Mm-hmm.
whatever works most naturally for you, to trust
Mm-hmm.
that and to lean into that. I mean, it might be education or graduate school, but it also, I think, there's great value in travel,
Mm-hmm.
which is an economic luxury, maybe, and
Mm-hmm.
time. But even within your town and community, finding
Mm-hmm.
places you've never been, and it just, I think, cultivating a sense of exploration and
Yeah.
discovery in life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think, of course, reading voraciously
Mm-hmm.
as much as you can across experience, across even genre.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously writing, but within that, I think just finding one or two people who you trust and you can be pushed by and inspired by, if not a whole community.
Yes.
Um, and don't be afraid to take risks, and it's for the best.
Mm-hmm.
Those no's that seem so difficult early on, I think, are very good for
Mm-hmm.
building us and shaping us. And just being true to yourself. That's
Mm.
really, for me, what it might come down to, is just be true to yourself.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's some good advice. Right on. And what matters most to you, Lee?
Hmm. I want us all to be okay,
Mm-hmm.
um, with what we need and some of what we would like.
Mm-hmm.
I think trying my best, but also knowing that I'm flawed and limited, but just doing my best when and where I can,
Yeah.
um, matters to me. Um, a sense of justice in the world is important to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I do. The older I get, the more I value time,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's important. How I spend it, and things like that. But
Right
those are
on.
some things that matter to me.
Thank you.
Mm.
And just curious, as from one writer to another, do you have a kind of plan and a schedule when you start out on a project or a book, or do you kind of just go as it flows? And do you have a writing discipline? Like every day I do a certain amount, of, like I'm curious as to what your
Mm.
kind of,
I'm curious about yours too. I don't know if I can ask you, but
yeah.
yeah.
I want
What
to
do
hear
you?
you first.
Oh, okay. Um, I wish I could
Mm-hmm.
write, with a project in mind. I
Mm-hmm.
really want to be that kind of poet, and I've tried to do it. I've
Mm-hmm.
tried to write an entire book about a certain thing because I
Mm-hmm.
love history and I love the idea of writing something about some kind of historical poetry. Once I tried to start a whole book of poems on water,
Ooh.
different things like that. I love the Petrarchan sonnet, so I've tried.
Me
I've
too.
thought really. I've thought, oh, I would love to be able to write a whole book of sonnets, but I
Mm.
just can't do it. I don't know why. Maybe I should try in the future. But no, I'm more one just that writes the poems and then they start to take a shape of their own, and then I might try to keep going with that and then see where it you know um, goes into another direction.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely a morning person,
Mm.
so I like to write early in the mornings.
Mm. Like Toni Morrison.
Yeah,
Yeah.
love writing in the morning. I used to write outside a lot.
Me too. Oh.
But I think, I don't know if it's your experience, but for me, each book is a little different in how it's written, in addition to what
Mm-hmm.
it's about. But I find myself writing more on my laptop these days.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. And I don't write every day, but I try to read or at least be thinking about a line every day.
Mm.
And then, once I get into the groove a bit more, I can get some momentum, and then I can start writing a little bit
Right on.
more steadily. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you?
Well, BC, before children, I think I was a lot more productive with the writing. But since they've been born, I'm a single mother and I have four mouths to feed. So my main priority is making sure that those mouths get fed 3 times a day and they never miss a meal. So it's kind of
Absolutely.
changed my whole life. And, I have 3 jobs. And so I write around the edges of day and night whenever I can now. And
Uh-huh.
it's like not the priority that used to be because feeding the kids and making sure the household is running is a priority, but I
Mm-hmm.
really look forward to my golden years when I have more time and I can get back to it. So I feel like this is the time that I need to do all the financial things to make sure they're set and that they don't have to worry, and then later I can go back to enjoying all my little
Yeah.
pleasures more.
That's incredible. I
Oh.
mean, it's sort of beautiful, and what you've already written and what you've already done as a parent and what you're doing. I think um, that's its own kind of art, you know.
I go. Oh, you're
Mm.
the best. Come on. Okay, so this is kind of a question some people hate and some people actually I don't think a lot of people liked it, but what is your legacy? How do you want to be remembered? Do you think about things like that or not really?
I don't think
Mhm.
about it as a writer. I mean, as a professor, I am
Mhm.
glad, or I feel good about certain things I've been able to do.
Mhm.
I co-founded a social justice center. I co-founded an academic program for Southeast Asian students.
You
But
co-founded a social justice center. You're like, "Oh,
yeah,
that's pretty amazing."
oh,
Wow.
we're very proud of it. It was about 6 or 7 years in the making, and we just opened last
Wow.
year. Um, but as a writer, I just want to be as, quote, true, I don't mean
Mhm.
factual, but as true to myself and to the poetry as I can.
Mhm.
Um, if someone thought I opened a door, that would be nice, but I don't try to do that for any legacy building purpose. I don't know that I've ever actually done anything
Mhm.
for a legacy with that in mind.
Mhm.
People will ask sometimes about the California Poet Laureateship and what it feels like to be the first Asian American.
Yeah.
And I always say, or what I found myself saying is that I wish, and there certainly probably could have been one before me,
Mhm.
and I hope there will be many after me.
Mhm.
But I have been able to accept that it means something to a lot of people, and if I think about it, it feels good to do that, to just to serve in that role. But um, otherwise, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And just curious, as since we both have Korean like blood in us, how
Mm,
has your experience been when you've gone to Korea? What is that like for you?
mm. Well, the first time I went was in
Mhm.
2001,
Mhm.
or the first time I went back was 2001. And at that time, I was about 30, and I was only going there because I was on my way to teach in China,
Mhm.
and I hadn't thought much at that point about going to Korea, but
Mhm.
I just went for a couple of days. It was only maybe 2 or 3 days, and then I went again in 2008 for a longer time, about a
Mhm.
month.
Mhm.
As an adoptee, I'm probably not unique in this, but a lot of adoptees' experiences returning or visiting Korea are sort of wrapped up in loss and our adoption.
Mhm.
And so in 2008, I did a birth family search. It was extremely emotional and difficult.
Mhm.
Probably took me about a year, I think, to feel a little bit more settled again after that month in
Mm.
Korea searching. Um, at the same time, it felt incredibly settling. It just felt like so much in my life that felt turbulent and uncertain and
Mm.
painful. So much of it felt settled
Mm.
after I went, just because, and not that I saw all of Korea or,
Mhm.
um, but to know, for example, what it sounded like at 11 p.m. in Seoul, or
Mm.
what a restaurant might sound like, or how hilly it is, or just different
Yeah,
things
right?
it felt good to know those things a little bit.
Mhm.
So, even though I didn't find birth family, I found a lot of things that I think were very good for me.
Mm.
Um, yeah, so I hope to go again sooner than later.
Mhm.
And I'll tell you this. People talk about this, but um, when I went back to the city in which I was born, I felt something very visceral and surreal come over
Mm.
me. Yeah,
Wow.
it was just it felt very physical and
Mm.
spiritual, but it was pretty powerful. So
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah.
Wow.
Have
Mm.
Now, do you mind if I ask you
No,
what
I
it's
don't mind.
like?
Yeah, I went a few times. My first time I was 14 and I went with my grandfather and my mom and it was for a month. And at that time I was very Americanized. And, my grandfather, he said he was going there because he was dying. He wanted to see everybody. It was a dramatic trip, but it was very interesting. I think I had a hard time acclimating because I was so into American culture at that time. But
Mm.
when I went later, I went in my 20s. I was there in 2001 too, I think. So I wonder if we were
Huh.
around the same areas.
Wow.
But I went on these kind of like back to the motherland trips with these other Korean Americans. And it was a program called Deep and Keep, Korea Exposure and Education Program, and DPRK Exposure and Education. So we went to North and South Korea. So in my 20s, it was a lot of going with other people my age, trying to rediscover my roots and learn more about my culture. And we stayed
Hmm.
there for like months and, stayed with people who are doing pilbong sa물놀이, like the Korean drumming, and, meeting with LGBTQ groups and going to protests, meeting comfort women. So it was a really
Mm.
powerful and emotional journey. And that
Mm.
was when I really fell in love and just met some incredible people. I met Master Cho there before he was Master Cho, when he was still Ajashi Cho, so
Mm.
I had some wonderful experiences in my 20s.
Hmm.
Yeah, but
Ah, that's
yeah.
incredible. I mean, that had to, maybe you were already in that world, but did that form a lot of your politics and activism and writing and things like that?
Yeah, I think so because it was all happening around the same time, and it
Hmm.
really kind of exposed me to a lot of different realities, especially when we went to North Korea, because even my family was scared that I was going up there. They were like, "A이고, 이 빨갱이 어디 가는 거야?" You know what I'm saying? And to go up there and meet people who are just like you and me, who like to sing in the park on Sundays, trying to throw each other in the river. It was just so heartwarming to realize that we're all the same all over the world, no matter what they're trying to program us with,
Yeah.
and that we're all human beings trying to live this life the best we can. So,
Yes, it's so
yeah.
true. It's so true. Travel can do that,
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I love
Hmm.
that. I love that.
Oh, thank you. So, how can we support you now? Are there any events or readings or things coming up that we should
Mm.
know about, or anything that you'd like to share?
Um, well, I try to keep my events updated at my
Hmm.
website. It's just leeherrick.com.
Okay.
But most of my events these days are in California, but I have a virtual one here and there.
Hmm.
Yeah, and if anybody would like to check out my new book, In Praise of Late Wonder, you can do that.
Beautiful.
But
Yes.
yeah, otherwise, no, I just grateful for you having me.
Oh, I'm
It's,
grateful that you took the time out of
it's
your busy schedule to connect. It really is a treat for me and is a pleasure and an honor. So, 아이고,
oh,
고맙습니다.
oh, it's so great to see you. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for having me.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Thank you. So I hope you have a
yeah.
wonderful rest of your day. 고마워요.
Okay, thank you. You too, Ishel.
Okay,
Okay.
안녕.